folks thought I was cool. I did good in school, so mama let me bend the rules. I grew up with an attitude to do just what I choose.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of Shooting the Shit. If you notice, we have a third window, and that person is Kevin Barrett. How you doing, man? It took you long enough, but we welcome you with open arms. I know you've been going through some personal stuff, but if you want to do a quick introduction for the audience out here, man, it'd be fantastic. So go ahead.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? I appreciate y'all having me. Sorry it took so long for me to actually get up on. My name's Kevin. I've been growing up with Bradley and Patrick. Those are my brothers from childhood, man. So it's just good to be here, give my opinion, shoot the shit, just talk smack, and give the people a word.
Right, right. I was not one of those childhood friends. I'm just here because I'm cute.
Yeah.
Pat, what's up, man? How are you, bro?
What's going on, my brother? Everything is good. I'm ready to get to it. I got a lot of opinions that I'm trying to fire. I got to empty the clip today.
All right, very nice. Brad won't be on the show. He's still working behind the boards, but unfortunately, he's also being a dad right now, so we won't hear or see much of him. In order to get Kevin in the swing of the show, he'll be doing our moderation today. And before we get started, I just want everyone to be careful since we are in the middle of a pandemic, especially in the great state of Arizona where where my co-host is. And if you start mysteriously missing shows, we know why. You ain't got to explain. We know the COVID monster got you. You will find for your life for a minute, and it's all good. We love you. There's no shame in that. So with that said, let's roll with it, Kev. What's our first subject?
All right, so our first subject, we're gonna be talking about the NBA and Kyrie being the voice. How do you gentlemen feel about the league? Are they forcing these guys to play, or is he really trying to speak some knowledge on some people and do the right thing by the players here?
Well, speaking of our current pandemic, if we handled this virus with any competence from the very beginning, then we would be like Germany, who's starting sports right now. We'd be like Spain, who's starting sports safely right now. We would be like Korea, who's had sports for about a month now. Instead, we have this. We have a
Uh-huh.
bunch of billionaires forcing a bunch of millionaires into playing in a virus bubble in Florida. And I agree with Kyrie. Even if they decide to play, they should be asking the questions. Why would I blindly go into a situation where there's an uncontained pandemic and for everyone except for basically LeBron, Giannis, Kawhi, Paul George, basically the top 4 or 5 teams, there's no real point in playing. Like you're just cutting into your own vacation time. You used to being on a yacht somewhere or somewhere in another country having real fun and taking a break from how awful this place is sometimes. And I appreciate Kyrie asking the question. I know people start really, doing their thing whenever Kyrie says anything, but apparently he spoke for a lot of people, and I appreciate that he was brave enough to put his name on it. And once he said it, a lot of people got behind it. So I'm sure you'll agree, Pat, because you hate Kyrie for some reason. So you go for it.
Listen, I don't hate Kyrie.
Oh, here we
I
go.
don't respect his opinions though. And on this particular subject, I don't want to hear him speak at all. Zero, zilch. Shut up. Zip it, Kyrie. If he was coming at this from the perspective which you laid out, Sean, I'm 100% for him speaking up. It's health concerns, what are the contingencies in place to make sure everybody's safe? Are the Disney World workers going to be subject to coming in and out of the bubble and we don't know who they're in contact with? They're not sequestered anywhere. That's not where Kyrie's coming from. Kyrie pulled up and was like, yo, what's with all this racism and police brutality shit, bro? Once we start playing, we're going to make people forget that police brutality is going on.
Is he
Mind
lying
you,
though?
Kyrie, shut up. Let LeBron handle this. Let CP3 handle this. My problem with Kyrie is that for him, it cost him nothing to say, yeah, throw the season away. Let's throw this season and let's fight for social justice, which is admirable. I'm not saying that in essence what he's saying is wrong. I don't want to hear from Kyrie. This is a man who does not have anything to gain or lose by the season continuing. He is out with injury. So he can flippantly say cancel the season. Right. Bron probably doesn't feel the same way because Bron's on the way to going after his title. If Bron said this, oh, damn, maybe this is some heavy shit because Bron is willing to forego his championship run to fight for social justice. Mind you, we don't have to question LeBron's sincerity about that because he fights for social justice while he's dribbling the damn ball. Kyrie Irving, were you or were you not in Cleveland when Tamir Rice was gunned down by police officers? You were still dribbling the basketball then, my brother. Why you want to stop dribbling now when you not even dribbling the ball right now? Right. You're rehabbing. Shut up. Let LeBron handle this. Let CP3 handle this. We don't need you trying to be the smartest man in the room with all these other impressionable young athletes that may not have any guidance or direction from their players union OGs listening to a nut.
Probably he's terrified, man. Shit.
Yeah, they don't want to get in that line.
Yeah, and you know, I followed this on Twitter last night too. And there's nothing that makes the Fox News comes out of NBA Twitter writers than when somebody says something that they do not want to hear. And they came out full force last night with the, oh, Kyrie's so entitled. Oh, he's such a baby. They started smearing him. You would think you was watching the O'Reilly Hour the moment it happened. And you can disagree with Kyrie or anyone else who speaks up and still respect that they're saying something. Right. And I understand that Kyrie thinks the earth is flat and not all of his opinions are valid, but I'm glad he says them. We have stuff to talk about, and I'd rather him do that than to just shut up. And after the fact, when someone breaks their leg or someone catches COVID, be like, oh, I told y'all. Yeah, I want to try to hear me.
What was this quote? What was this quote? He's like, why are we trying to play games with police brutality? Something's fishy here. Kyrie, we've been playing basketball with police brutality for the last 50 years, bro. Where have you been? Where have you been? This is not new.
I'm going to chime in. Patrick said a lot of what I wanted to say, but I will say I almost agree with Austin Rivers' sentiment. I don't know if y'all saw his tweet or his little message on SportsCenter about it, but like you say, you have the platform. He technically has the platform, right? But there are other players in the association that aren't gonna, they need that platform. They need to play to maintain their platform. So I even get it in the sense from that perspective, like if it's for the movement, you need the platform. I'm not saying they have to play for that, but they can do both, was Austin's point. We can still, maintain our standard of living, I guess, so to speak, when they're playing in at the Disney Center. We can try to be as safe as possible. Like, they can do it all. I'll say this as a normal citizen. I was talking to Bradley before the broadcast. We just got sent back to work too. So I mean, that's inevitably going to happen across any board, so like they're gonna have to figure that out anyway, whether it was this season or the following. You're gonna have you're gonna come back and play at some point in some fashion. So
yeah, they did figure it out. It's the purge.
Yeah, I think now is the time. You gotta use your platform. If it's down the line, is what's still going on still going on, so I think they I hate to say it this way, but I would tell Kyrie to shut up and dribble in the assistants.
And here's my last question to Kyrie. Let's say we all agree with Kyrie and we're like, yeah, bro, you're right. We're not going to play. If I'm an NBA player, I'm looking at Kyrie and I'm saying, you're right, bro. We're not going to go back and play. My next question is, when are we going to come back and play, Kyrie?
Exactly. Because when is the time? When do you decide
are we going to come back after Ahmaud Arbery's killers are convicted? Are we coming back after George Floyd's cops or convicted and sent to jail? What if they don't get sent to jail? Are we sitting out indefinitely? What are we doing, Kyrie? Like, it's not enough to just say, oh, we should throw the season away. Mind you, every player in every interview, even up to this point, every player is saying, I'm ready to get back and play. If it's safe, I'm ready to come back and play. They're
It
ready to
ain't
play.
safe.
Listen,
It
safe
ain't
is another,
safe, God.
but that's not the conversation Kyrie's trying to open. If he would have been like, I don't trust the bubble, I don't like what they got set up, cool. I'm 100% with it. I'm not going to force somebody to go into an unsafe situation. This brother doesn't want to play because police brutality, even though police brutality has been a part of the American fabric of society since Muhammad Ali.
Well,
All right,
maybe
Hell
that's
with
he's
that
fed
fight.
up now,
what do they
Patrick.
say? That's about as American as baseball and apple pie.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's fed up now. Everyone has their line. Something must have crossed Kyrie's line, and now he's ready to give it all up. So let him. All right, man. Let's go to Chappelle, man. Kyrie's a nut. I
Yeah.
love him.
All right.
I eat
So
this all forever.
so the next topic we have, I have not watched the special yet myself, shamefully so. I am a huge Chappelle fan. I just have not had that 30 minutes yet.
Oh,
But I've heard about it. I've looked it up. I've kind of read little things here and there without trying to ruin it for me. But y'all speak freely. Obviously, y'all going ahead. What were y'all thoughts on watching him come out of hiatus once again to make us laugh and make us think at the same time?
well, it's called 846. It dropped on Netflix. I want to say what overnight on Thursday, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
And
YouTube. It dropped on YouTube, I believe.
yeah, YouTube. Pardon me. And I'll tell you what, that was it was a pretty intense half an hour. It
Same thing my coworker said.
yeah,
Very intense was the exact words he used.
it was equal measures of wonderful and devastating. And Chappelle, he has this way of connecting with people even when he's not telling jokes. Like it's pretty insane. Even when he's being dead serious, you're still all in. You're not like, okay, why are you talking about serious stuff? Say your lane because everything's his lane. So I feel like Chappelle is not a comedian as much as a master communicator who happens to be funny.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And just the way that he paces everything, the way that he tells the stories, the way that he connects the stories, and how he makes it look supernatural. And this is just his rusty form because he normally masters this stuff over the course of a year. And the way it came out was super raw, and I think what he said in it was super important. So man, go for it, Pat. It was wonderful for me. Do you have anything that stands out in particular for you?
I really enjoyed it. It's crazy how I think he only told one joke the entire, maybe two jokes. He told a joke about Ja Rule, like nobody wants to hear from Ja Rule right now, and then he told the joke about Azealia Banks and Candace Owens. But other than that, you're talking about almost 30 minutes of raw Chappelle, and for me it's great because um, I always think of Chappelle as the black uncle that white people listen to. So it's like he really, really took a moment to sit down and speak to all of his black, all of his white nieces and nephews and be like, look, y'all's parents is out here fucking up, and here's why. And the piece of it that really stuck with me was in the final 2 minutes of it. Um, him being a comedian, he's really uh really capturing the heaviness of this entire situation because he goes tells the young people he's proud of them and he's very comfortable in the backseat of this car that the young folks are driving, um, and he says these forums, this open forum, that this platform that he's using is the last place of civil discourse because white folks, y'all basically used up all of y'all's passes at this point. If you don't like it now and you don't want to have civil discourse, then Chappelle said, and I quote, rat-a-tat, rat-a-tat-tat.
Right.
So that's how I feel. That's how I felt about the looting and the burning and the destruction of property. I don't care about it. Chappelle is telling you that we don't care about it because at this point we've been peaceful enough. We've done everything as proper as we can. Um, he really laid into the culture of the police force when he brought up Chris Dorner. If you're not familiar, Chris Dorner was an ex-LA Police Department officer that was let go for trying to be a good cop, and then he turned into the bad guy by, blowing his coworkers or ex-coworkers' brains out and family members' brains out, and
Yeah, he
he turned
saw
into
his
the bad
two
guy.
daughters, and
So
optimal.
um, obviously that's not a way to handle it, but the way he wove the story and connected it, and like I said, he's white America's favorite black uncle, really sitting everyone down and saying, listen, y'all are in some shit now and only y'all can fix it. So, I'm here if you need me, but the young people got it, and the young people ain't as communicative or as nice as I am. So y'all better figure it out, because these young folks is coming for you. And that's what I took from it. I appreciated it. It was masterful. I've never really listened to a Chappelle stand up and not laughed and thought it was great. And I didn't really laugh at this one and thought it was some of his best work that he ever released.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, the wildest part was him comparing the earthquake that happened to him while he was out west in '94, and it was 35 seconds, to the 8 minutes and 46 seconds of George Floyd getting the life literally choked out of him. And that really puts it in perspective for me, because I still haven't watched the video, and I won't watch the
Neither have
video.
I.
I
Same.
get the point. I get the point. I've seen enough trauma, but 8 minutes and 46 seconds is a long time to be scared of anything. You know how fights seem like they're 35 minutes long, but you look at
Maybe
the
a
tape,
minute
that,
and a half.
yeah, the 25 seconds. Can you imagine being that scared and being like, this is it? This is it. But that lasting for 8 minutes, the people there must have felt it was 45 minutes long, which makes the cops seem even worse. If that's possible, because time is slowing down for everybody.
One
And
thing to add to that too, for the people that were watching there, not that they may necessarily have known at the time what was going on, but we got to also remember this was a non-violent offense. This wasn't somebody that they had to like subdue to get him to stop being, combative or whatever. We have the security footage from before with the video of the killing after, so you can see he's not, how people want to say comply and do this and do that. This man wasn't trying to fight these officers at the time, and he still managed to lose his life in a very gruesome, very horrible way. Because, like you said, that 8 minute, the way, I haven't seen the video either, but in hearing about what happens to the body in the manner in which, he was positioned with the knee on his neck, he did not pass peacefully either. Obviously, it was very. They say it was a very cruel way to die. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Sick.
That like, yeah, mind you,
Sick.
this was a counterfeit bill. I had to bring that up because I live in Charleston, and I remember the Charleston 9 shooting, and I remember seeing Dylan Roof get arrested in North Carolina, and they took that man to Burger King. They didn't beat him,
yeah,
anything like that. That's the distinction I try to make to my counterparts. I'm like, hey, it's not about like who cares if he actually, you shouldn't even have to say it wasn't a violent crime, right? Whether it was violent or not, you still have a right to due process. You still get taken in. You still get charged by a jury and all that stuff. The cops aren't jury and executioner there on the spot, and that's what happened. So
again. So, and
again, right, mind you.
yeah, apparently some young kid in Atlanta got shot in his back 3 times. So they're fighting about that
Yep.
now. By a cop, of course, if I even have
He
to
was
mention
he
that.
was from what I understand, he was asleep in the drive-through, and so somehow, trying to figure out what's going on with him sleeping in the drive-through, they managed to shoot this kid in the back 3 times. So
Fantastic job. Yes, reform. That's going to solve that. Anywho, all right. So let's go on to NASCAR before I get mad. Like NASCAR is going to make me less mad. But
yeah, this was actually, pretty lighthearted, I guess you could say, for our people. NASCAR, pretty much going ahead and saying no more to the Confederate flag at events, which I'll go ahead and start us off as a person of color. Not really being a huge fan of NASCAR. Like I'll watch, but like it's not anything. And I ain't got no favorite NASCAR sport. But obviously there are reasons you don't see a lot of people of color going to the tracks and things like that. And so I think this is a huge opportunity for them to not only introduce, a lot of people to the sport that otherwise wasn't going to be interested, wasn't going to watch. Like now that you kind of have our attention with jumping on board, and saying that this is wrong, we'll see kind of where it goes in the future. More black NASCAR racers, men and women alike, being able to go and have a good time and enjoy the races like everybody else. Sean, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, first off, I want to give NASCAR a standing ovation for only being 72 years late to removing the Confederate flag from all their things. I don't think that they realized that what the Confederate flag represented last week, and hastily decides to do the right thing. And also, some career loser got mad, racist or really.
All that.
He spent his whole life losing, and he just got mad and quit, just like that goofy flag that he fought for. So I thought that was pretty light. But I'm not gonna throw a parade for them doing the obvious thing that should have been done 72 years late. I guess it's better late than never. So that's cool, but uh, good, like about time. I'm still not watching y'all go in a damn circle. I don't care.
That's a fact. Uh, uh, I'm not going to watch NASCAR because of this. I will never watch NASCAR. All of us on this show, we're all from South Carolina, and during our entire youth, we're all in our 30s now. During our entire youth, not to put y'all on blast, I got grays in my hair. If y'all want to be still in your mid 20s, y'all can be in your mid 20s. But me personally, I'm in the early stage of my 30s. My entire youth growing up in South Carolina, that Confederate flag flew on the state capitol grounds. We really became numb to it. We knew what it was. We knew what it stood for. I had white friends growing up. I'd go over to their home, jump on some four-wheelers in the garage, and it was hanging in the garage. But it's funny that flag, the type of people that hang on to that flag usually has some common values amongst them.
Yeah.
It's not hard to see. The Confederacy lost in the war anyways, and you're repping the stars and the bars.
Repping some fucking losers.
Basically, I wish that they still had the flag, and I wish they could still display it, and I wish that people wouldn't be concerned about displaying it because I want to see who the losers are. You're repping a Confederacy that lost. I want you to show that flag. I want to know that you're a loser. I want to see it. NASCAR's hiding the flag from public view because sponsorships and everything is going to be affected by that. But they still represent that underneath it all. And the people that love NASCAR are the people that love the Confederacy. And having them hide the flag isn't going to change their mind about what that flag represents to them. So it's all smoke and mirrors. I wish that we wouldn't push so hard to get rid of the Confederacy flag because I personally like being able to identify the losers outright instead of having to ask a question like, "Hey, do you support the Confederacy or do you like repping losers?" I don't want to have to ask that, but I understand it. I get it. As Sean said, better late than never. But it's all front hand gestures at this point. It doesn't mean anything to me personally.
Yeah, and I would be with you, Pat, but they be in denial about what the Confederacy is about. Because whenever you ask somebody straight out, what's it about? Oh, it's about heritage. It's about
not hate.
Southern history. Heritage, not hate. But look, man, we got the internet, and guess what? All of these states, they wrote their reason for separating. Guess what? All of them had in common. There were 6 states, I think. Take a wild guess of what they all had in common. Anyone? Slavery.
Yeah, we didn't want to get rid of that.
Oh no! And the reason. It's written. It's on Google. You can just search articles of Confederacy, and at least South Carolina, they were nice enough and kind enough to kind of stick it in page 3. You have to read a little bit down. You kind of have to, oh, what are you talking about? Oh, he snuck it in right there. Mississippi,
Okay.
yeah.
First
But
line, first page.
Mississippi, though, it was sentence 3. We need slavery. We run on slavery and we will kill to keep slavery. And I just wish if people were honest about that part, I'd be like, well, yeah, you want black people to be slaves. I know what time it is, and it is what it is. But I think it's the plausible deniability that gets me. It's not the racism itself. It's the throwing stones and hiding your hand. That's the part that gets me because I like knowing who my enemies are. I like knowing who to stay away from.
Just like you
And
said, throwing stones and hiding your hand.
yeah, like that's just so frustrating, man. The plausible deniable racist. Those are my least favorite type. Those are the ones that I hate dealing with the most. And I wish they would either all just be just straight honest so we can just figure it out from there, or just not be racist. But this whole in between gray area stuff just kills me, man.
Well, I'll piggyback off that. So, in my opinion, still living in the South and growing up and seeing this transition where you're catching, more instances of racism, in this new digital age on camera, I think that a lot of, like you say, that the shades of gray, they're for white people too. There are white people out there that don't realize that a lot of their upbringing and a lot of what they do and think and say is actually inherently racist. They're not out, supporting. They may not even rep the flag, right? They may be in their mind a progressive person, but they don't realize that the system overall that they're playing for and benefit from and trust and love is that same system that separates our families and demonizes us for being who we are. And now we're learning that if you're turning the blind eye and you're not using, speaking up against it when you see it, especially like say amongst your white friends, you're part of the problem. You're not a part of the solution. And you may not realize you actually are inherently racist. Like they can't be honest with us if they're not being honest with themselves.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's get into more race. So we should call it
More
shooting the
race.
race card.
I know, right? This was
Shoot.
actually the one I was waiting on. So the last topic, people losing their jobs now for their racist comments and antics online for social media. Is that right or wrong? And I wanted to, give my 2 cents on this one, especially because we do have the First Amendment. There is freedom of speech, so you can say whatever you want to say out there. That's not a problem, but the thing people have to realize is, we live in a cancer culture society right now. So you can say whatever you want to say. The rest of the world doesn't have to support that, though, and you're seeing that a lot more now, especially again the power of social media. So just because you can say whatever you want to say, your company can't stand behind that. Your friends can't stand behind that. The people in your community that you think supports those same ideals and values, where you think it's a community around you, only to realize you're actually alone in that thinking. That is not freedom of speech right there. There will be consequences for hate speech. Um, as Bradley started at the topic, the Kroger guy. I heard about that story. They're just, you can't be in this, in that. If you want to show me who you are, but you're going to be at the unemployment office for your values and opinions. So just be prepared for that in the new era.
Hey, man, I don't know if it's right or wrong, morally speaking, but I love it. I love it. I hope it never ends.
Hmm.
And being racist should be punished, but we're not allowed to beat people up for being racist because that's assault. So they should face some type of consequences. And the reason that I think that I love that they get fired for this type of stuff is because it's still so easy to be silently racist. Do you
Hmm.
know how is a piece of cake? Like many people practice in the military. You can't hold in your racism like from you can't hold in your racism from your 9 to 5. Like really? Like come on, you only have to hold it in for 8 hours a day. All you have to do is talk to your friends about it instead of saying it online for the entire world to judge you.
Mhm.
So yes, you're like it's a dumb penalty. It's a dumb tax. Like it's not even racism at that point. It's a dump tax because him getting fired for calling somebody the N word or whatever. That's not gonna that's not gonna get me a raise. It doesn't really affect me outside of a little moral victory. So it's not even the racism I necessarily worry about, but I do worry about dumb people working with me. So yeah, they should go, and if they can't go, I should be able to fight them or at least get 35 seconds. Like
Right.
if you can call me a porch monkey or a jigaboo, like backed up with some fists, and then if you beat me, shoot, I guess you call me again. I guess we're gonna have to fight again. But whatever, whatever. Like if you're gonna be like that stupid, you gotta accept the consequences. It's so easy to hide it. Still get away with it. No one country when you're not even in Germany. Just do sly stuff like everybody else. Go ahead, Pekka. I got more, but go.
Yeah, no, I love when hypocrites get their comeuppance. I'm all about it. Because I specifically remember back in 2016 when Kaepernick
We're
was protesting.
Mhm.
Kaepernick was
shooting the race
protesting,
card.
and the number one defense of him being out of a job at the end of the 2016, going into 2017. Oh yeah, sure, he can protest. It's First Amendment right, but your employer doesn't have to put up with it. And if your employer doesn't like it, then maybe they deem that he's not fit. So yeah, talk shit, lose your job. I'm all about it. I don't feel bad. I don't know how productive it's going to be. I don't know if someone losing their job is going to make them say, "Hey, I'm a racist." Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe they go on further down the rabbit hole and continue to hate black people because they feel like black people cost them their job when in reality their bigotry cost them their job. But I am most certainly all about it. I don't want to hear anyone crying about losing their job because of free speech because y'all cheered and sang and danced in the streets and burned jerseys when Kaepernick was losing his job. And I wish I had a Starbucks barista apron that I could burn every time they lost their job, or a Kroger vest every time they lost their job, or
Just
or
throw a frappuccino out the window or some shit.
I
Right.
wish that every time it happened, I could throw something that symbolized their job out. But I don't really, you know, I don't really have a lot of empathy, sympathy for any of these people, and don't come over here looking for sympathy because if you're racist and you lost your job, well, unemployment's hitting right now, fella. Trump taking care of you. Go ahead and get it.
Yeah. And while we're on the subject for being racist and everything else, I do want to thank the precious few white people who are actively fighting against their own power structure.
Mhm.
And there's a difference.
Amen.
There
Amen.
are the vast majority of white people who are doing just enough to not be called bigots or whatever, but they still have their views, and they do it by playing devil's advocate or
Exactly.
consider this. But there are quite a few people. It's a small percentage, but I know a few who are actively anti-racist and who are actively fighting against their own power structure. And it's really hard to do. So I thank you guys so much. It takes a lot to have such a moral compass that you fight against something that actively benefits you, not even if you participate, but if we just shut up and let it happen. And do you know how hard it is? Ask NFL players about Cap in 2016. That's how hard it is. And they were on the wrong side, but all they had to do was shut up, and they get to keep their money. And who rolled with them? Eric Reed, maybe two or three other people. The vast majority shut up, and that small minority was kind of against it, but most people just kind of shut up for their own self-preservation. So It sucks for white people too because they can't even celebrate themselves. They can be like, yeah, I did that for black people because you get rolled off for that too. So you can't. So it's kind of a thankless thing, but I appreciate you. I appreciate how hard it is, and beers on me whenever I see one of these types, man. 'Cause y'all are doing some good hard work, and it's not that shit is not for everyone, man. So, you got anything, Kev?
Man, I think the last thing that I could say on that, I mean, everything's pretty much been touched on that. Like you said, just in terms of if you're going to show us who you really are at the core of your human being, don't be surprised when you get canceled. That's the culture we're in now. Like you say, we may not be able to fight you every time, but eventually at some point you'll look up in society. You won't have that great paying job that you had. Life's going to be different, and if you really sit and think about it, you'll be like, dang, that was my fault. Like if they hopefully one day they reflect and they realize like, man, I was the one that was really fucking up there. But doubtful,
Yeah,
obviously. But
like please.
you wish people kind of have that aha moment. The last thing I'll kind of end with, Patrick threw out one thing that I'll put out there. I'm not a huge podcaster, but if you guys ever get a chance, there's a Joe Rogan. It's on YouTube, featuring this guy Daryl Davis. I've never heard of this guy till I saw this podcast.
Don't be throwing up people on
When
this
you
show.
when you watch it though, you're gonna understand why I put it up there, because I think this is honestly where they got the character of Uncle Ruckus from, without realizing who he really was. But one of his main messages was social discourse and how it was dead, especially in the internet era. I'm sure none of us are at that point yet, but I'd like to personally be at a point where I can, reach across the aisle to somebody, one of those bigots per se. Obviously we're not going to have the same opinion or agreements coming off the bat, but this guy is the first black man to write a book on the KKK in America. He's got over something like 200 Klansmen to turn in their robes just by being that person. Like, hey, you can come talk to me. I'm not gonna like judge you up front for being a Klansman. Social discourse. So I guess word for the people out there. I know it's tough, but if you can reach out to somebody that you see is ignorant, I'm not saying you're going to change their life right there, but little seeds, go ahead and plant them. They're going to grow at some point, and those people will kind of realize, hopefully, where they stand in society. So I just want to throw that last bit out there.
Well, that's cool, and I'll leave that for y'all. I give up. Y'all can have that. So yeah. Before we go, I'd like to thank Kev for being on. You're gonna be on every week, right? This ain't just a one-time thing.
Man, I'm gonna try, man. It's supposed to be. I'll tell y'all more about my job right now,
The
but it's my
pressure's
business.
on.
Yeah, the pressure is on, but no, I should be able to. It's just, my account is pretty sporadic. I'm a broker, so I get freight and business all hours of the weekend and stuff like that. But I'm usually pretty available, so I just gotta make sure I ain't off in the wind and stuff like that. But I enjoyed it, man. This is awesome. It's always good to have constructive and intellectual conversations, especially in this day and age with other brothers
Yeah.
of color. You don't get that too often, especially in your work settings these days. We're usually a minority, so this is awesome. I'm definitely going to be looking out for it.
Word, awesome, man. So, quick question before we go, man. When y'all got y'all haircuts, I still don't know how the hell y'all getting haircuts in the middle of a pandemic. Did the barbers come in with astronaut suits? Did they come in normal? Did they come to your house? Did you go to this spot? How does it work? Because I have one
My barber
on
actually
Tuesday.
did go mobile, man. He actually he's got a trailer and he'll come to the house. He's got his shop. He can pretty much do it all, man.
Yo, like they real businessmen out here. Pat, how are you just going in just totally full barbershops? So you get your shit cut at Supercuts? Do they have black barbershops
They do.
in Arizona? They do? They got black
They
people there
do.
enough for
You
that?
gotta search really hard for them, but they out here. Um, you gotta make. My last barber, he was a bitch from Chicago, so I had to. Um, and that happened during the pandemic. So I actually just linked up with a new barber. I got cut up last week. He did take extreme precautions for me. So he had his hand, he scrubbed his hands down, and then he put on his gloves, and he had the face covering on, and he took care of me. But it's all appointment based. But I'm in Arizona, baby. This is it's red or it's dead over here, baby. Business is open. They go on full throttle. So yeah,
See,
it's money to be had.
that's how it is down here in South Carolina. We pretty much just we gave the coronavirus two middle fingers and a stone cold stunner and said we was going back to normal life. They they ain't
Paying
even
for it
He
right
gonna
now,
ride
but
it like the
right.
Undertaker too. And all right, well, that's awesome, man. I have an appointment on Tuesday. Like I'm terrified. I'm not gonna lie, but I can't go with my hair being like this anymore. I've had enough, and I'm running out of hats. Like y'all think I'm rich? I only got like 5 hats. We on episode 5, episode 6. I'm gonna have to start repeating, and it's gonna start looking bad for me. So I get it done. So hopefully this dude's safe, and I'll end up in the ICU. And the protest is still going on since we aren't tearing everything up anymore. People aren't covering it, which our point exactly, but they are still ongoing. They are largely peaceful and easily ignored now. So, yeah, I hate our media discourse about that. But all right, so that's it for us. I'm Sean Gregoire, Pat Hardy, Kevin Barrett, Brad being the dad, Brad the dad over there on mute. But of course, he's on the boards working hard, making sure we look great, man. Kev, thanks again for joining us. Hopefully, we see you next week, man. And that's it. We are out shooting the shit. Episode 5.
Peace.